Are these memories of satanic abuse real?
Him build her on a stake and...
Most clients come in not realizing that they have satanic abuse in their history. Jolene originally came in as a client with relational problems. She lost a lover of 9 years, and it sent her into a place of devastation, which took her right back to her family of origin. And what we discovered there is that Jolene has a number of different people inside. The particular person that came out as Cassandra still feels like she lives in the world of having a child in a ritual abuse group and being forced to be impregnated, forced to carry the child, to have the child under the most abusive of circumstances, to observe the child being horribly abused, and then being forced to kill that child, and then to experience with the group the cannibalistic activities.
12 miles up the road from Dr. Moss's clinic, Sandy, a 28-year-old mother of 2, is in therapy. Bonnie, the therapist, believes that one of Sandy's child personalities is reliving torments inflicted by her satanic parents.
Nobody's ever going to put you in that hole again.
Bonnie also believes that she has multiple personalities and was abused in childhood by her satanic mother. Bonnie is in her 5th year of treatment with Dr. Moss.
Tell me.
Multiple personality disorder, which wasn't recognized until the 1980s, is now spreading dramatically as multiples become therapists who in turn discover more multiples.
Mama bear.
And,
Papa bear.
And,
Baby bear.
Yes.
Tim, you believe you're treating over 100 survivors of Satanism in this one clinic. Bonnie up the road thinks she's got another 9. So, how many Satanists do you suppose there are?
I don't know how even to think about that in terms of actual numbers, but I would say there are 250,000 people in this country.
Wait a minute.
That
250,000 secret Satan worshippers in the United States?
I would say that that's probably a reasonably accurate number.
There's certainly bankers, there are certainly psychologists, there are certainly people in media. We hear a lot about Department of Children's Services workers. We hear a lot about police officers. The cult has reason to have their people in virtually every walk of life.
Dr. Catherine Gould is a founding member of the Los Angeles Ritual Abuse Task Force, which advises the police and social workers on satanic cults. She is recognized internationally for her diagnosis and treatment of child victims of Satanism.
Really scared to be with him.
This 12-year-old girl, whose identity is concealed to protect her, had no memories of satanic abuse until her parents' recent divorce. Her mother has come here to help establish that the girl's father is a Satanist who should be denied further visitation rights to his daughter.
My mom thought that maybe something had happened, and I said, do you mean like being a sexual abuse or something? And she said, yeah, maybe.
You thought that maybe there had been some sexual abuse?
I know that it probably happened, but I don't really know exactly what happened. And I just kind of think that something like that might have happened.
Dr. Gould agreed to talk further about what she believes to be that huge secret satanic network.
When I first started doing this work, I thought that probably the motivation had really to do with sex and money, that these were people who were pedophiles. But I've come to feel over the course of doing this work for almost 10 years that the motivations are really much more sinister. The children are really being abused for purposes of indoctrination. The ritual abuse of children is at bottom an attempt to develop human resources for the cult, develop children who have had so much abuse and so much mind control to which they've been subjected that they will be maximally beneficial to the cult in a whole variety of areas.
But with what possible aim?
I think their aim is really to have as much control of, of this country and of other countries as they can possibly get.
The FBI Academy, Virginia, which houses the National Center for the Analysis of Violent Crime, If any evidence of a criminal satanic conspiracy were to come to light, the investigators here would be among the first to be consulted. Special Agent Ken Lanning.
When I first heard about what has come to be called satanic ritual abuse, I was inclined to believe that it was going on. And the reason for that is I had been dealing with the extreme aspects of violent, evil, criminal behavior for a long time. And I had no problem with the idea that people can be exceptionally cruel and vicious. But as time went on and the cases continued to come in, more and more cases, you were simply never able to find any real evidence, any real corroboration. I'm not aware of one single documented case in the United States and in other countries as well that I've consulted on. And I've consulted on several hundred of them.
In spite of the lack of any physical evidence, the story of a secret satanic conspiracy continues to be popularized by newspapers, magazines, films, and books, including some specially written for children and others that supposedly describe the true experiences of those who have survived Satanism. And the further this story has traveled from its American roots, the more lurid the details seem to have become. Birmingham, England.
Again, I raped. They were buggered. I had everything done to them that is humanly possible in a satanic, evil way.
What happened to all those little children's bodies?
They were dismembered.
Jim Phillips is a practicing medical doctor who believes he has at least 140 patients who are victims of satanic abuse. 15 are currently under treatment.
Virtually all our female patients have had their own babies sacrificed. They witness terrible, terrible things.
Can I stop for a minute?
I think together they've seen over 1,000 murders, just my patients.
I'm dealing with the most sophisticated crime conspiracy that I've ever seen in my professional life, or there are some alternative explanations for what's going on here.
Leading psychologists believe they have the alternative explanations for satanic memories.
Quite frankly, I have never yet seen anyone who claims to be a multiple personality who hasn't been in the hands of a therapist for some time.
Professor Hart is Dean of the Graduate School of Psychology at the Fuller Seminary in Pasadena.
Multiple personalities are created or brought into being or reinforced or shaped by therapists who are looking for them. The therapists are the ones who selectively reinforce these beliefs. You can, I know from experience, many years' experience as a therapist, I can get a patient to believe anything. I have tremendous power with patients. And most multiple personality disorders are people who are highly suggestible, who have vivid imagination, thrive on this sort of thing. And by reinforcing, the therapist, in my opinion, sort of strengthens the crutch, strengthens the escape, strengthens the avoidance. And that person is not being taught how to face reality with courage, but how to escape from reality by some fairy tale belief.
In spite of these serious criticisms, the belief in an international satanic conspiracy continues to gather strength, with police and social workers taking up the cause.
The judicial inquiry has opened into the Orkney child abuse affair, in which 9 children were taken from their parents after allegations of ritual satanic abuse. All were later returned to their homes by the authorities, and the charges were dismissed as fundamentally flawed.
Dat in Nederland kinderen gedwongen worden bloed te drinken, seksuele handelingen te verrichten met lijken en mee te werken aan babyoffers.
The fifth estate. One case of child sexual abuse grows into a frightening, widespread scenario of ritual cult activity. It happened in California. Children are questioned again and again for weeks and months, their lives damaged. In the U.S. and Canada, there's a hunt-on for satanic cults, and innocence often seems to offer no defense.
San Diego, California. Bill and Becky Wallace with their children. It's hard to believe that this is a family recovering from trauma, but their story is typical of the many cases where the satanic memories of a close relative have wreaked havoc.
I win.
In California, Therapists are required by law to report any reasonable suspicion of child abuse to the authorities. The Child Protection Squad, San Diego County. This is an emergency response. And so it was over a year ago when a report came in from her sister's therapist that Becky and her husband Bill were about to sacrifice their son Jesse to Satan. At 1:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning, 3 detectives and 2 armed police officers entered this home. Bill and Becky remember the flashing lights and the sound of sirens. They remember being taken aside by 2 of the detectives, while the 3rd walked straight past them towards the children's room.
One of the detectives, Detective Pitcher, went in and they woke the kids up, and the other 2 detectives took me and Bill outside, and they said that they were going to be taking the children, and we could either make it easy on our children or difficult. It was up to us, but either way, they were going to take them.
Did they give you any reasons? Did they explain why they were taking away your children in the middle of the night?
No, they didn't give us any reason at all, and we kept asking them, why, what's this about?
They just said either way, you can make it easy or hard, but either way, they're taking them.
They just took them away.
Shortly before 2 a.m., the children were taken here to the Hillcrest Receiving Home, San Diego County. On average, 450 children are brought through here every month, genuine victims of neglect, cruelty, and sexual molestation. Child abuse is real, but satanic abuse? Was this the place to bring Lauren and Jesse for psychiatric interviews and medical examinations at 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning?
I called Hillcrest Receiving Home 3 times that Sunday, and they said that we should call on Monday to get an appointment with the social worker. And we went down there Monday morning, and they told us that the kids had already been placed in a confidential foster home on Sunday. They were already gone.
When did you first learn what you'd been accused of?
Well, the first time was from a phone call from the social worker, and he said that there had been a phone call and that we had been accused of planning to sacrifice our son on or near his birthday, which coincided with the fall equinox.
Did that make any sense?
None at all. I didn't even know what the fall equinox was.
And who were you supposing to sacrifice Jesse to?
He didn't say.
It was part of a satanic ritual, so I guess Satan.
And does Satan and satanic rituals, does that make any sense to you?
No.
We never heard of anything like this, ever.
And who was responsible for that phone call to the police?
Candace Young, my sister's therapist. My sister Rachel's psychologist called and said that Rachel had told her that we were going to make Jesse a human sacrifice on or before his birthday. I think it's amazing that a therapist who's never met us or seen our children or had any contact with us at all could start this big ball rolling.
Did the police make any serious attempt to hear your side of the story?
No.
Not the night they took them. They wouldn't listen. They didn't spend 5 minutes with us.
Detective Pitcher, who removed the children from their beds. Of all the key people involved, including Rachel and her therapist, Detective Pitcher was the only one who agreed to talk to us, provided that we limited the discussion to Satanists in general.
I think that there is a network. I think that it's like any other organization that you would see or any other church as far as the ability to communicate. And it seems from that experience that it does cross all the state lines and even internationally.
Have you ever successfully prosecuted a satanic coven?
I have not had a case where we have actually been able to prosecute a whole coven. My cases were dealing with individuals.
Individuals killing children?
Not any evidence that we had that they killed any children.
When a therapist tells you that a child is about to be abused by its satanic parents, What corroborative evidence do you need before you can take that child out of its home?
In a situation like that, there are certain guidelines.
More multiples.
Mama bear.
And,
Papa bear.
and,
Baby bear.
yes.
Tim, you believe you're treating over 100 survivors of Satanism in this one clinic. Bonnie up the road thinks she's got another 9. So, how many Satanists do you suppose there are?
I don't know how even to think about that in terms of actual numbers, but I would say of origin. And what we discovered there is that Jolene has a number of different people inside. The particular person that came out as Cassandra still feels like she lives in the world of having a child in a ritual abuse group and being forced to be impregnated, forced to carry the child, to have the child under the most abusive of circumstances, to observe the child
inflicted by her satanic parents.
Nobody's ever going to put you in that hole again.
Bonnie also believes that she has multiple personalities and was abused in childhood by her satanic mother. Bonnie is in her 5th year of treatment with Dr. Moss.
Tell me.
Multiple personality disorder, which wasn't recognized until the 1980s, is now spreading dramatically as multiples become therapists who in turn discover
being horribly abused and then being forced to kill that child and then to experience with the group the cannibalistic activities.
It's scary.
12 miles up the road from Dr. Moss's clinic, Sandy, a 28-year-old mother of 2, is in therapy. Bonnie, the therapist, believes that one of Sandy's child personalities is reliving torments. Are these memories of satanic abuse real?
They him build her on a stake and...
Most clients come in not realizing that they have satanic abuse in their history. Jolene originally came in as a client with relational problems. She lost a lover of 9 years, and it sent her into a place of devastation, which took her right back to her family.